Hey there, it's Davide from the Partner Success team. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to translate all messages in a digital channels conversation from and to the customers. This solution can be extremely useful for scenarios where the agents need to support multiple countries and different languages, and you want to provide additional help to the agents, especially to the ones who might not be very proficient with some of the languages. At the time of making this video, Webex Contact Center does not offer a live translation feature, but the same behavior can be customized inside your Webex Connect tenant. The solution I'll be presenting in this vidcast is just one option between many that can be deployed. As we will go through it, you might consider some changes based on your personal knowledge and your use cases, or even apply further enhancements to your environment. Before we begin, we need to determine the translation engine that will be used. The idea behind this proposed solution is to trigger the translation via API calls, and there are few vendors on the market that offer such capability. In this vidcast, I'll be using Microsoft Translator as it offers a large amount of characters that can be translated free of charges compared to Google Translate, and I think, especially for a demo environment, it is simpler and more convenient. Of course, if you plan to deploy this solution in a production environment, you may want to explore the pricing offering from other vendors too, based on your traffic volumes, before picking the one that works best for you. In order to use Microsoft Translator, you need to have a Microsoft account and log in into portal.azure.com. If this is the first time you use Microsoft Azure with your account, please open instead azure.microsoft.com/free, as you need to create an Azure profile first. If you skip this step, you might experience some issues at login stage. So for the first-time users, you will have to go through the profile creation. Then the interface will ask you to enter the details of a credit card, which will be charged when consuming more than the free thresholds. Depending on the information you enter, and if the credit card was already used with other Microsoft accounts, the interface might warn you, like in this case, that you are not eligible for the new user free tier option. But no worries, as we will see in a moment, you can still use the service for free. Then, depending on your account, you might get prompt additional account security steps to set up a multi-factor authentication. Once you manage to complete the login process, navigate to the home page. In here, search for the Create a Resource button and click on it. Inside the Marketplace search bar, enter the word Translator and search for it. The translator service should appear as the first result, so click on it. In the page that loads, hit the Create button. Define a resource group and then select the region closest to you in the drop-down menu below. Then enter a name of your choice for this unique instance. The name must be unique, so the system could return an error if you use a very generic name. Finally, from the pricing tier, choose the free tier, unless you already plan to use the solution for a much larger volume of translations. Hit Next and move to the following setup options. There's nothing to be changed here, unless you have any personal additional preferences. Once you reach the end, hit the Create button. The service will start the automated deployment, and after a few seconds, you will receive a confirmation message. Click on the Go to Resource button, and then on the right side, on Manage Keys. In here, we can get the secure keys we will have to use in our API calls to perform the translations. We can now leave the Azure portal here for the time being and move to our Webex Connect tenant. Let's begin exploring the translation of the incoming messages from the customers. In here, open any of your existing flows where you want to add the text translation, or upload a sample flow of your choice. Please keep in mind that this method works with any channel. For sake of simplicity, I'll be demoing the solution with the web chat channel, as I already have an asset set up and working, which is assigned to a templated flow without the initial form, which I downloaded from the GitHub. I'll leave the link in the description below. Once you access your flow, start editing it and locate the queue task node. Then delete the queued green outcome. Now let's drag into the flow the HTTP request node, which we will use to trigger the translation, the branch node to check if the HTTP request returned an error or was successful, the data parser node to clean the HTTP response and take the translated text, the delay node, and finally the append conversation to display the translated text to the agent. Link the queue to the HTTP node and open it. Select the method post, then in the URL, enter the one you find in the video description. As you will notice, the last two characters of this URL are supposed to indicate the language you want to translate into, so feel free to set it as you prefer. I will also leave the link to the API definition in the description so you can refer to the Microsoft documentation to learn more about the supported languages. You might have noticed that in this URL, we're only specifying the target language. If you leave the URL like this, the translator will automatically detect the input language. But if you want to reduce the margin of machine error and you already know which will be the input language, you can add it as a parameter. Simply add at the end of the URL the ampersand sign, the word from, the equal sign, and the prefix of your input language. In my case, I'll test out the translation to Chinese from English. Inside the headers, enter content type with the value of application JSON. Then add another header as OCP-APIM-subscription-key. And as a value, copy here one of the two keys from the Azure Translator service. And finally, the last header has OCP-APIM-subscription-region. And the value here will have to be the same as the region name you specified inside your Azure service. Now, inside the body, we need to enter the text we want to translate, but be careful as this API expects the body in the format of an array. So add the open square and open curly brackets, the word text with a T uppercase between double quote, colon, and the text you want to translate between double quotes. In our case, we can take the message variable from the start node. Then just remember to close the curly and square brackets. All set here. We can hit the Save button. Connect the success outcome to the branch node and open it. Just for clarity, let's rename the branch 1 outcome to Translation Successful and the None of the Above into Translation Failed. Inside the condition, in the variable field, enter the variable called status code from the HTTP node, equal, and then as a value 200. This means that whenever the translation is successful, the message will go out through this outcome, else from the other called translation failed. Let's hit the Save button. Now connect the success outcome to the parser node and choose the translation successful when the pop-up appears. Then connect the other successful outcome to the queue node below, so when the translation is not successful, no further actions will be taken. Let's open the parser node. As input variable, we can use the output from the HTTP node called response body. For the sample input, I suggest you to copy the content from the HTTP node and paste it into Postman, so to simulate the same call and get the full response body there, that you can copy and paste it here, instead of typing it manually. Once you have the sample body here, hit the parse button, then select the output called .text and hit the import button. The last step is to give it a name of your choice, and I will suggest something like translated text. Save the configuration here and connect this node to the delay. Inside the delay, we just want to add 1 second delay to ensure the translated message is always displayed after the original message. Otherwise, in some cases, the system could present the translation before the original message as the two actions are happening very close to each other. Now, all we have to do is to append the translated text into the conversation on the agent side, so link the outcome to the append node. Open it, select the method append chat, then your authentication, the channel you're using, so in my case live chat, then inside the conversation ID field, the custom variable with the same name. Select the single message option. Direction and message type should already be set to inbound and text with attachment. Inside the text, we can now specify the parsed variable from the data parser node, selecting it from the input variable list, maybe with a small note calling out that this is the message that we got automatically translated. Next, as the attachment field is mandatory, let's take the custom variable called parseDataAttachment. Then, in the timestamp field, select the one with the same name from the start node. Great, let's hit the Save button. Now connect the success outcome to the queued node below, and don't forget to connect all the unsuccessful and timeout outcomes from all the nodes we just added to the closed task node to properly handle any error scenarios. There is one last step that is missing here. Can you tell which one is it? The nodes we just added here are only applicable to the very first message from the customer when the conversation is created or reopened, but they are not triggered for any subsequent message. For this reason, we need to copy all of them. Click on each, then use the keyboard shortcuts to copy and paste. Then from the Resolve Conversation node, select the success outcome called Append. If you have some hard times to locate it, zoom in and click where you see the word End. You should be able to see the outcome called Append. Select it and then delete it. Now link this outcome to the node we just copied. Also remember, we need to update the configuration of these nodes. Inside the HTTP node, there is actually no field to be updated, but take note of the node ID. Then open the branch node and update the input variable with the correct node ID. Then connect the translation successful outcome to the data parser. For the translation failed, we can simply terminate the flow here. No further action is needed now. Let's open the data parser node and update the input variable here with the same node ID we used in the branch node. Connect the data parser to the delay and then the delay to the append node and open it. In this last node, we need to update the text variable, so let's use the node ID we can see from the list on the right. Then hit the Save button. Since this is the last node, we can terminate the success outcome on the node itself. Last but not least, connect all the unsuccessful and timeout outcomes from all the nodes we just added to the closed task node like we did earlier. All set on the flow. Now we can save it and make it live. As the flow is now live, it is now time to work on the translation of the messages from the agent. You may remember that all the outbound messages from the agents are not triggering any flow. So for this kind of messages, the following implementation might look like some kind of workaround, but it will still fit the purpose. We will start by creating a web page where we will be running a custom translation script that will still leverage the translator API. I recommend to use glitch.com as it's very easy to access and set up. In case you don't have an account with it, when you open the glitch.com homepage, click on the Sign Up button and follow the simple registration process. Else, follow the login process. Once logged, access or create your desired website project. Then select the index.html from the list on the left and select the entire content of the page that loads on the right side. Let's delete it. Now open the HTML sample I linked in the description below and copy the full content here. If we look into the code, we can see we are defining a section to collect the text message we want to translate, and below it, we have a list of languages to translate into that we will allow to choose from. If you want, you can add or modify this list with the languages that you want to offer. Please note that in this case, I'm not offering the option to specify the language of the input text, as it will get automatically detected. Finally, below the languages list, we have two sections. one for the translated text and the other for the copy button that will appear when the text gets translated to quickly copy it into the clipboard. Further down the code, we can see the section for the API call. In here, you will have to specify your key and region like we did earlier in the HTTP node. Once it's all set, you can hit the preview button at the bottom of the screen and select one of the two options. It will provide you a good look and feel of this script. You can test it here to ensure that everything works fine. Now let's navigate back to Control Hub and browse through the menu to the desktop layout section. If you have any layout you're already using and you're good to modify, please select it. Else, feel free to create a new one. Download the layout file and open it with your preferred text editor. For this demo, I'll only focus on the agent profile, but please remember to update the supervisor and agent section if you need. Scroll down to the panel section of the code. It should be around line 40. In here, you will have to add the code that will create the auxiliary tab whenever a conversation is accepted by the agent. I will leave the sample code in the description below. You can add the code in the position you like, but in my case, just for visual convenience, I will paste it before the JDS section. Simply locate the line containing the string com:\md tab, and before the initial open curly bracket, paste the sample code. Inside the new code, locate the URL that needs to be replaced and insert the one from the web page we just modified. In my case, is the glitch.com URL that I can retrieve from the preview. Finally, save the layout file with a custom name. Then upload it into Control Hub and assign it to the team where your test agent belongs. And with this last step, we're all set and ready to test it. Now, when we log in with a test agent inside the desktop application, and we get ready to accept an incoming conversation, and then start a new chat, we will see the agent receiving the incoming conversation. And when that's accepted, the interface will both show in the conversation panel both the original and the translated messages. And on the right side, we will see our custom auxiliary tab with the translation script, which we can use to create a reply for the customer. Once again, please note this solution is just an option between many that could be implemented, and it was just meant to demo the translation capability to your customers. This is not a secure solution, as we added the API key as plain text in the custom web page. We understand it's very unlikely that an agent will grab that key from the HTML code through their browser, but you might want to consider more secure solutions like building a custom desktop widget. Hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Let us know if you have any questions in the comment. See you soon, and thanks for watching.